In the quiet dawn of a Johannesburg morning, billionaire Alexander Blackwood was taking his usual solitary walk through the park. His hands tucked in his pockets, he strolled mindlessly, the weight of his empty mansion heavy on his shoulders despite his immense wealth. The morning air was crisp, birds sang their early melodies as sunlight filtered through the trees. As Alexander passed a wooden bench beneath an ancient oak, something caught his eye: what appeared to be discarded blankets. He took several steps before stopping abruptly. The blankets had moved. Heart quickening, he approached cautiously. There, lying unconscious on the bench, was a young woman no older than 19. Her clothes were tattered, her face gaunt with exhaustion. Beside her lay 3 tiny infants wrapped in threadbare cloths, their weak cries piercing the morning stillness. Tiny hands reaching out desperately for warmth and comfort. Alexander froze, his mind racing. The smallest baby began coughing, the sound jolting him into action. Without hesitation, he gathered the infants against his chest, their bodies alarmingly light. Then, with gentle strength, he lifted the unconscious girl. She weighed almost nothing in his arms, and didn't stir as he carried them all swiftly to his car. Passers-by stared in shock at the sight of the renowned billionaire carrying a homeless girl and 3 infants. Alexander paid them no mind. Something deep within told him this wasn't mere coincidence. This meeting was destined. The wrought iron gates of his estate swung open as his car approached. Inside, Sophia, his housekeeper of 15 years, watched in astonishment through the window. "My God, are those babies?" she whispered, rushing to open the door as Alexander hurried from the car. 3 infants in his arms and the young woman on his back. No time to explain, Alexander commanded. "Get warm water, blankets, and call Dr. Mitchell immediately." They placed the girl gently on the living room sofa while the babies were nestled on a plush rug. Near the crackling fireplace, Sophia covered them with soft blankets and prepared bottles of warm milk. "They're starving," Sophia observed softly as Alexander helped feed one of the infants, who sucked desperately at the bottle. "I found them in the park," Alexander explained. She was unconscious. The babies were crying cold, frightened. Sophia touched the girl's forehead. "She's burning with fever. This poor child hasn't eaten properly in days." When Dr. Mitchell arrived, his examination confirmed their fears. "They're alive, but barely," he reported grimly. "The girl is severely dehydrated with dangerously low blood sugar. The infants are underweight and need immediate nutritional intervention." Alexander watched the babies sleep, their tiny chests rising and falling rhythmically. The young woman, now peaceful in unconsciousness, looked far too still. "Prepare rooms for all of them," he instructed Sophia quietly. "Yes, sir. But, are they staying here?" she asked hesitantly. Alexander's gaze remained fixed on the sleeping girl. "I don't know who they are," he said softly. "But they're safe now. That's what matters." Sophia observed her employer with newfound respect. In 15 years, she had never witnessed such compassion from him. The mansion, once filled with echoing silence, now held the sound of tiny breaths and something more, a spark of life returning. The sun was high when Eliza opened her eyes. Momentary confusion washed over her as she felt the soft sheets and smelled fresh food sensations. So foreign she thought she might be dreaming. Then panic seized her. "The babies," she gasped, sitting up too quickly. Her head spun violently as she scanned the room, finally spotting the 3 infants sleeping peacefully in a nearby crib, wrapped in clean blankets. Eliza stumbled from the bed, rushing to gather them in her arms, first Maya, then Leo, and finally Noah. Tears streamed down her face as she clutched them close, her hands trembling with fear and relief. "Where am I? Who brought us here?" she whispered frantically. The door opened slowly. Alexander stood in the doorway, his expression calm but concerned. "You're safe," he assured her gently. "No one will harm you here." Eliza backed away, holding the babies protectively against her chest, eyes wide with terror. "Please don't take them from me," she begged, voice breaking. "We didn't steal anything. We were just tired." "No one is accusing you of anything," Alexander replied. "I found you in the park unconscious. The babies were crying. I brought you here to help." Eliza's legs gave way. She sank to her knees, still clutching the infants. "I'm sorry," she whispered. I didn't want this. I just wanted them to live. Alexander knelt before her. It's okay, he said softly. They're alive. You are too. That's what matters. Eliza sobbed a deep, wrenching cry as she hadn't allowed herself since her mother's death. Since the streets became her home, Alexander remained nearby, his presence steady and calming. When her tears subsided, she wiped her face with her sleeve. My name is Eliza, she said. These are my siblings. They're not mine by birth, but they're all I have. Alexander nodded. I'm Alexander. You don't need to tell me everything now. Just rest. Eliza studied him uncertainly. Something in his voice felt genuine, but the streets had taught her caution. Still, for the first time in months, she felt a flicker of warmth in her chest. Perhaps it was hope. As evening fell, Eliza sat by the window watching the sunset, the babies sleeping contentedly after their meal. For the first time in ages, everything felt peaceful. Sophia entered quietly with a bowl of steaming soup, placing it beside Eliza. You barely touched breakfast, she noted gently. Try this butternut soup, soft and warm for your stomach. Eliza nodded shyly. Thank you, ma'am. Just Sophia, the older woman smiled warmly. The soup was the most delicious thing Eliza had tasted in months, its warmth spreading through her chest. They sat in companionable silence before Sophia spoke again. You're brave, you know. Most girls your age are worrying about final exams, yet here you are, caring for 3 little ones like a mother. Eliza looked down at her thin, scratched hands. She'd stopped thinking of herself as a teenager long ago. They're not mine, she said quietly. They're my younger siblings. Sophia's eyes widened. Oh, our mother, Vivian, died the day they were born, Eliza continued, her voice unsteady but determined. She hemorrhaged. The doctors couldn't stop the bleeding. Sophia placed a hand over her heart. I'm so sorry, child. Their father me stepfather before the funeral. I haven't seen him since. So it was just me and the babies. You tried to stay in school? Sophia asked gently. Yes, Eliza whispered. But they cried all night. I couldn't focus, missed classes. My principal said I needed to choose. Tears filled Sophia's eyes. And you chose them. I had to. I'm all they have. A profound silence filled the room, not heavy, but deep with respect. You didn't just keep them alive, Sophia said finally. You carried them through fire. Eliza looked away. Some days I wanted to give up, but then one of them would smile, and I'd remember why I had to keep going. Sophia reached across and took her hand. You're not alone anymore, Eliza. Not here. Eliza met Sophia's gaze, her eyes tired but softening. She didn't know if she could believe that yet, but for the first time, someone had said it aloud and it felt real. Late that evening, Alexander knocked softly on Eliza's door. The babies had just fallen asleep, the room quiet and still. Come in, she said softly. Alexander entered, hands in his pockets, looking tired but composed. I wanted to check on you. Are you feeling stronger? Eliza nodded. Yes, thank you for everything. You don't need to thank me, Eliza. I just did what anyone should have done. She looked down at her hands, then back at him. Most people didn't, she said quietly. They saw us and walked away. Some shouted at us to leave, others crossed the street. Nobody ever asked if we were okay. Alexander remained silent, listening intently. I tried, Eliza continued, her voice soft but steady. After Mom died, I took whatever jobs I could, cleaning, washing clothes, anything. Some days I earned just enough for one meal, other days nothing. She paused, brushing her fingers against the crib where the babies slept peacefully. We couldn't afford rent. The landlord gave us 1 week to leave. I begged him to wait until the babies were stronger, but he didn't care. We ended up in a shelter, but it was overcrowded, cold and dangerous. People fought over food. I didn't feel safe there. Alexander frowned, absorbing every word. After that, we slept outside. I wrapped them in whatever I had, old jackets, cloths, even plastic bags. When it rained, I made sure they ate first. If we only had a little porridge, I fed them and drank water to quiet my own hunger. Alexander swallowed hard, her words striking deep. Some nights I stayed awake just to watch them breathe. I was terrified someone would take them, or they'd get sick, or worse. Her voice broke. I was exhausted, starving. My legs felt weak. That day in the park he didn't even realize I'd passed out. I just wanted to rest for a moment. And you didn't think anyone would come? Alexander asked gently. Eliza shook her head. No one ever did. Alexander regarded her thoughtfully. But someone did this time, he said quietly. Someone did. Tears welled in her eyes, falling silently. For so long, she had carried everything Alaneth pain, the fear, the hunger. But now, for the first time, someone had seen her and stayed. Alexander couldn't sleep. After hearing Eliza's story, something nagged at him. Her name, her eyes, even her manner of speaking, it all felt strangely familiar. And her mother's name, Vivian, echoed in his mind like a forgotten melody. The next morning, he had his driver take him to the old building where Eliza said her mother had worked on of the smaller factories Alexander had owned years ago, now closed. Inside, boxes of employee records remained in storage. He began searching through them methodically, page after page. Then he stopped, his breath catching. Vivian Harlow, start date, July 2008, position cleaner, end date, December 2015. He turned the page to find a photograph. It was her, the woman with kind eyes and a gentle smile. Alexander remembered her clearly because years ago, she had saved his daughter's life. During a company family day, his daughter Lily had fallen into the pool unnoticed. Vivian, without hesitation, had jumped in fully clothed and pulled her out. Lily had survived because of this woman's quick action. Alexander had thanked her, given her a bonus, but life had moved on. Now, years later, her daughter had appeared at his doorstep starving, homeless, carrying the weight of 3 infants. Alexander sat down, holding the photograph to his chest. Vivian, he whispered, you saved my child. Perhaps it's time I save yours. He returned to the mansion with a complex mixture of emotions, guilt, wonder, and a sense of fate. In the garden, Eliza sat with Sophia and the babies, laughing softly as Maya tugged at her braid. The sun illuminated her face, and for the first time, Alexander saw Vivian in her smile. This was no longer just an act of kindness. It was something deeper, something meant to be. That night, the mansion was quiet. The babies slept peacefully, and Sophia had retired to her room. Eliza sat in the garden, legs tucked beneath her, gazing at the stars. She heard Alexander approach but didn't turn. He sat beside her in comfortable silence. Finally, he spoke, his voice low and weighted. I discovered something today, something about your mother. Eliza turned slightly. You knew her. Alexander nodded slowly. Her name sounded familiar. I couldn't place it at first, but then I remembered. Years ago, she worked for one of my company, a skite, kind, always punctual. Eliza looked at him, confused. One day, Alexander continued, we had a company event. My daughter Lily was 6. She slipped near the pool and fell in. No one noticed except Vivian. Eliza's eyes widened. My mother saved her. She didn't hesitate, just jumped in. Lily survived because of her. Eliza covered her mouth, tears forming. She never told me. Alexander looked skyward. Maybe she didn't think it mattered, but it mattered to me. I just didn't realize how much until now. You said survived. What happened to your daughter? Eliza asked softly. Alexander's expression changed, deep sadness crossing his features. She died 2 years later. Car accident, drunk driver. I wasn't there. I was in another country at a meeting. I'm so sorry, Eliza whispered. I've carried that guilt for years, he admitted. I stopped engaging with life, stopped opening my heart. I convinced myself it was safer that way. He looked directly at Eliza. But then I saw you in that park with those babies, and something in me broke open. Eliza's lip trembled. You've experienced profound pain too. He nodded. As have you. The silence between them felt different, no, filled with shared understanding, pain, and something new. I think your mother left you with more than just 3 babies, Alexander said gently. She left you her courage. Eliza wiped her face and offered a small smile. And perhaps your daughter left you something too. What's that? He asked. A reason to care again. They sat beneath the stars, no longer a billionaire and a destitute girl, but 2 souls learning to breathe again. Days passed, and the atmosphere in the mansion lightened. Alexander immersed himself in work but always checked on Eliza, and the babies upon returning home. He brought toys for the children, books for Eliza, and ensured they had everything they needed. The house was becoming more than a shelter, it was becoming a home. One afternoon, Alexander sat with Eliza in the living room while the babies played nearby. The setting sun cast a warm glow over them as he turned to her, his expression kind but serious. "I want to help you, Eliza," he said softly. "You've carried too much on your shoulders already. You shouldn't have to do it alone anymore." Eliza looked at him hesitantly. "I don't want to be indebted to you." Alexander smiled gently. "This isn't about debt. It's about what's best for you and these children." She looked down at her hands, fingers twisting nervously. "I don't know if I can trust anyone anymore." "I'm not asking for complete trust," Alexander clarified. "I'm asking you to accept help, a chance to return to school, a chance to dream again." Uncertainty filled Eliza's eyes. "I don't even know where to begin. I've been out of school so long." "You can do this," Alexander said firmly. "You're intelligent and resilient. I'll cover your education completely. You won't need to worry about finances, and I'll ensure the babies are well cared for while you study." Eliza swallowed hard. The offer seemed too good to be true. "Why are you doing this for me?" she asked quietly. "I'm just a stranger." "You're not a stranger," Alexander replied. "And remember, your mother saved my daughter. It's my turn to help you. This is my way of saying thank you." Eliza looked away, her heart heavy with the weight of pride and independence that had sustained her. Sophia entered with fresh tea, noting the tension in Eliza's expression. She sat beside the young woman. "Eliza," Sophia said softly, "I understand how difficult it is to accept help, but think about the future, think about those babies. They need you to be strong for them, and the only way to do that is to take the opportunity right in front of you. Sometimes," Sophia continued, "the greatest strength is knowing when to let others in. You don't have to carry everything alone." Eliza blinked back tears. "What if I fail?" "You won't fail," Sophia assured her warmly. "You have all of us now. You're not alone." Eliza looked between Alexander and Sophia before slowly nodding. "Okay," she said quietly. "I'll try. I'll go back to school." A smile spread across Alexander's face. "You're making the right choice." For the first time in years, Eliza felt a spark of hope, not the bright flame she'd once dreamed of, but enough to move forward. As months passed, the mansion transformed into a genuine home. The babies' laughter filled every room as Eliza progressed in her studies through online classes. Though challenging, each step forward strengthened her resolve. One quiet afternoon, Eliza entered the living room holding a small piece of paper. The babies napped while Alexander sat by the window, contemplating how much had changed in such a short time. Eliza approached him, hands trembling slightly. "This is for you," she said softly, extending the paper. Alexander accepted it, unsure what to expect. It was a drawing, simple yet powerful in its innocence, though the lines were uneven and colors scattered. The image was clear, a man standing beside three small children. At the top, in childish handwriting, was a single word, "Daddy." Alexander stared at the drawing, his heart stopping momentarily. "Daddy," he whispered. Eliza nodded, smiling gently. "Maya drew it. She doesn't fully understand yet, but she calls you Daddy. She sees you as family." The word affected him profoundly. He studied the drawing, three little faces beside his own, and something inside him broke open. Alexander had always contained his emotions, building walls after his daughter's death to protect himself from further pain. But the simple drawing, the innocent trust it represented, shattered those defenses. Tears filled his eyes, and for the first time in years, he allowed them to fall freely. The grief he'd buried, the guilt he'd carried, the emptiness of his existence poured out at once. Eliza watched silently, witnessing not just sadness, but releaseth unburdening of a soul that had carried too much for too long. When Alexander finally composed himself, he looked at Eliza, his voice steady despite the emotion. "I've protected myself for so long," he said, his voice breaking slightly. "I kept my distance, my heart closed. But these babies and Yao have changed everything." He paused, taking a deep breath. "I want to do more. I want to give them a future, a real one filled with love, security, and everything they deserve." Eliza's eyes widened. What do you mean? I want to adopt them, Alexander said quietly but resolutely. I want to make them legally my children. I want to be their father. Eliza's heart skipped. This was beyond kinness. It was a commitment, a promise. Are you certain? She whispered. Alexander nodded. I've never been more certain of anything. I don't want to waste any more time. I want them to have everything I can provide. Tears welled in Eliza's eyes. She had always feared for her siblings' future. But now Alexander offered something she never thought possibly: real family, security, and love. Alexander stood, holding the drawing against his heart. I'll ensure they're cared for and loved completely. Eliza embraced him wordlessly, knowing everything was about to change. For the first time, she wasn't alone, and the triplets would grow up surrounded by love. Their future, beginning with this unexpected gift. 1 year later, Eliza sat in a university lecture hall, attentively taking notes. She was no longer the desperate young woman fighting for survival, but a confident student, with a promising future ahead. At home, the triplets thrived. Maya, Leo, and Noah were no longer the frightened, malnourished infants Alexander had discovered. They were happy, healthy children who filled the mansion with laughter and joy. Sophia had become their grandmother figure, and Alexander their father in every way that mattered. Alexander himself had transformed. No longer defined solely by his wealth, he had found new purpose. Each morning he woke eager to spend time with his children, playing, teaching, and loving them unconditionally. His life centered not on business success, but on family and love. One evening, as Alexander watched the triplets build with blocks, Eliza returned from class. Her backpack slung over her shoulder, eyes bright with excitement. I finished my assignment early today, she announced proudly. Alexander looked up, his chest swelling with pride. That's my girl. You're doing wonderfully, Eliza. She smiled gratefully. I never imagined I'd be here. I thought my life was over before it truly began. You've come remarkably far, Alexander said warmly. I'm proud of you, and I know your mother would be too. Eliza's expression softened at the mention of Vivian's woman, who had sacrificed everything for her children. I don't think I can ever repay you for everything you've done for us, she said quietly, sitting beside him. You don't need to, Alexander replied, emotion filling his voice. You've given me more than I could ever ask for. You and the babies brought me back to life, Eliza. I thought I had lost everything, and then I found you. Eliza took his hand. I was just trying to survive. I didn't realize I was giving you anything, but now I understand. You gave us everything, and I promise to give back to you and to the children. You already have, Alexander said, eyes glistening. You've given me a family, a reason to wake up each day with joy. You've given me everything. Eliza's heart swelled as she looked at the man who had once been a stranger, but was now the father figure she had always needed. And Alexander had found in Eliza and the triplets what he never thought he'd experience again: propose, love, and family. The children ran to him, each holding colorful drawings they'd created that afternoon. Alexander laughed, his heart full as he accepted their artwork, kissing each small forehead with overflowing affection. You're a real father now, Alexander, Eliza observed softly. I am, he agreed, voice thick with emotion. And I've never been happier. As they sat together surrounded by laughter and love, Alexander surveyed the life he had built, a life he once thought impossible. A year ago, he had been lost in a world of wealth and isolation. Now he possessed everything truly valuable: family, love, and purpose, because of a chance encounter with a girl who had nothing but courage and a heart full of love. Thank you for taking the time to follow this touching story on Tales of the Heart. Every life is a journey full of unexpected turns, and as Alexander and Eliza have shown us, sometimes what appears to be a hopeless beginning can open doors to unimaginable happiness. If you're moved by stories that touch the heart, moments that transform lives, and profound lessons about human connection, please subscribe to Tales of the Heart today. Each week, we bring you inspiring true stories from around the world. Click the subscribe button and the bell icon so you never miss a story. Every share and comment not only helps our channel grow but spreads positivity to more people who need it. Tales of the Heart, where every story has the power to change lives.